Hi guys, how you doing? All right. I'm sorry to kind of send this out so late and to obviously um, go on live as opposed to pre-recording something, but I just wanted to speak about the recent TV show Last Week Tonight with John Oliver. And this is a show that goes out in the USA, and it's John Oliver seems to be a British TV host who has a show out in the States, and his recent show was commenting on the 2022 presidential elections. And as we all know, the United States and President Biden has already congratulated the Philippines. As well as that, many other world leaders have congratulated the Philippines on a fair democratic process. And the way I see it is that this John Oliver, although his show is satire, and I guess the way that his show is kind of almost kind of, how do I put this, a bit OTT, and to be honest, that's his style, and I get that. But his absolute criticisms and absolute ridiculous analogies about Bongbong Marcos and is absolutely ridiculous. He starts the show by saying BBM, or Bongbong Marcos, is the son of a guy who terrorized the Philippines for years. That's a pretty big statement to make and a pretty bold statement to make. This John Oliver has only heard this information secondhand. He doesn't know the full history. Who I've been listening to is people alive during the Marcos era. I'm not going to in any way speak about that era or speak about history because I don't know what happened because I wasn't there. All I can do is listen to the accounts of some people in that era. So some Filipinos alive during that era. A lot of them tell me that when Marcos first came to power, life was good. The economy was doing very well, and the Philippine peso could actually buy you quite a lot. For example, somebody told me the other day that a tricycle driver, that when he'd finished his work, I think he got more than 100 pesos a day, and he said out of that he could buy food for his whole family and still have some left for savings. The best way to understand about what happened that time is to listen to ordinary Filipinos on the street who will tell you. I'm not saying those times were perfect because they weren't. The fact is that Marcos had to declare martial law. And of course, in martial law, it's not an ordinary set of circumstances. It's not for me to say. But then on the other hand, neither is it for this John Oliver to say. He wasn't involved in any way. He wasn't in the Philippines. He's not Filipino. And it sounds as though he's basically disrespecting the 32 million voters who voted for Sir Bongbong Marcos. It's up to the Filipino people who they want as president, and not this John Oliver. This John Oliver was just doing this for clickbait. He was doing it just to try and make his network happy, or just to try and be popular or something like that. But the reality is, he's talking about history being revised, and complaining about the TikTok videos or the internet usage by Bongbong Marcos. The way I see it is this. Bongbong Marcos was completely entitled to make as many videos as he wanted, as many TikToks, as many YouTubes as he wanted. He was speaking to the Filipino people. He wasn't speaking to this John Oliver or Last Week Tonight. He was talking to the Filipino people. And he was basically explaining his own memory. You know, this is something that's subjective. Nobody can say this is not true. Nobody can say this is a lie. Bongbong Marcos was fondly remembering the time that he had as a child in the palace, fondly remembering his father, and of course those times. You know, who can dispute that? You know, he is quite within his rights to speak out about what he wishes to speak out about. You know, people question why there's been such a massive majority of Bongbong Marcos in these elections. The fact is, you know, the Filipino people, many of them tell me they remember those times. They remember the good times, and they want those good times to return. Many tell me that the economy was good, was stable, there was a lot of infrastructure build. And who am I to judge that? Who am I to dispute that? You know, I'm a foreigner. I have no right to dispute what the Filipino people are saying. You know, it's not a revision of history at all. You know, if Bongbong Marcos and his camp and Inday Sara Duterte and her camp, if they want to use social media, then that's perfectly within their rights. If they want to speak to the Filipino people that way, then they're perfectly able to do that. You know, people say that this is somehow a dodgy election, or the result is not accurate, or somehow it's been manufactured or something like that. The reality is, during the time of the lockdown, you know, Ma'am Vice President Leni Robredo could have done exactly the same thing if she wanted. You know, I wish she would in some ways, because, you know, people are complaining and saying about what happened to her, and there was such a big loss. But the fact is, you know, she could have done the same if she wanted to explain her situation in social media videos. If she wanted to speak about her family, she could do that. You know, there's nothing wrong in that. The Filipino people are an emotional people, and they vote with their heart. And this is also the reason why I support Bongbong Marcos, because I have listened very carefully to what he said. I've listened very carefully to his interviews, and I fully believe that he resonates with the people. Bongbong Marcos talks about Philippine pride. He talks about restoring jobs, jobs, jobs. He talks about jobs for people in the Philippines, local jobs, farming, agriculture, and all of these important areas. And he says that Filipinos should be proud of who they are. He said that he's visited all the countries in the world, and by far the Philippines is the greatest, and the Filipino people are the greatest people in the world. And there's nothing wrong with that, and nobody can dispute that. This is not revisionism. This is not changing history in any way. This is his personal opinion, and the Filipino people have voted for Bongbong Marcos based on their connection with him, based on his personality. And this is the thing to bear in mind. So really, this John Oliver was way off topic, and I don't believe he had any right to, firstly, to insult Bongbong Marcos or his family, and he had no right as well to insult President Duterte. You know, he's using swear words, he's being very disrespectful. This John Oliver has to realize that the Philippines is a democracy, and the Filipino people have voted overwhelmingly for Sir Bongbong Marcos and Inday Sara Duterte. And who is he to dispute that? Is he trying to say that the Filipino people are stupid, or the Filipino people have got it wrong? You know, the Filipino people can vote for whoever they wish, and this journalist or this comedian or whatever you want to call him has no right to speak in this way. You know, he doesn't know what happened at the time. He hasn't listened to the stories from the people who were on the ground at the time. He's based his research on maybe YouTube videos or books that he's read or whatsoever. And I believe that he should have done more research. He shouldn't really be disrespectful. You know, if the President of the United States of America can congratulate Bongbong Marcos, and the president of China as well, Xi Jinping, has also congratulated Bongbong Marcos, then who is this John Oliver to be so disrespectful? Anyway, guys, thanks so much for watching. I'm unhappy with this Last Week Tonight show. I think they were doing that show for clickbait. I think it was disrespectful and an insult, not only to the Marcos family, but also an insult to the Filipino people. Anyway, guys, that's all I have to say. Thank you very much.